Hey, if you're pregnant over 40, I have just the community for you. It's a private community away from Facebook where women just like you come together to meet and support one another during pregnancy. To sign up for the waitlist, go to over40fabulousandpregnant.com/waitlist and be the first to know when the membership is open. I can't wait to see you inside. Welcome to Over 40 Fabulous and Pregnant. I am your host, Jamie Massey, and you're listening to episode 64. Typically, we share pregnancy stories of women over 40, but this episode is going to be a little different. Today's episode is the second episode of this Trying to Conceive series. The first episode is called Believing Pregnancy is Possible Over 40. I'll make sure to leave that link in the description. You seem to really like that one. And this episode was requested by a listener. At first, I wasn't sure about creating this episode, but then I remembered the many comments that have been posted on Instagram saying that we can't afford IVF. And that's when I knew I had to create this episode. There are a few things I do want you to know before we get started. First, this episode is to not tell you that you can't afford IVF, although I think I do mention it one time. I also don't want you to think that money will get you a baby, but money might be able to open up the possibility of pregnancy. For this episode, we are implying that not having enough money is the problem. But of course, I know that may not be true. And second, just like I mentioned in the Believe episode, Brooke Castillo has been a huge inspiration to the show, and many of these ideas are actually hers, so I can't take much credit. Today, I hit the 12-week mark. So exciting, which of course is obviously when I'm recording this. And I haven't told you our story of our 10-week sonogram, our graduation from the fertility clinic. I created a post on this. I actually have been writing on our story throughout our journey. So if you want any of that, I will also leave a link for you if you want more information on that. So for this 10-week sonogram, I was nervous, but I was also pretty confident. And my husband got caught up at work. He had to meet me at the fertility clinic. And you know what my first thought was? Oh my gosh, this isn't how it's supposed to go. And this is going to change everything. Like, it's going to change the outcome if he doesn't pick me up like he did for all the other ones. And I don't even call myself superstitious. Wow, like I really had to talk myself through this drama in my head. But once I got to the fertility clinic, my husband was already there waiting for me in the parking lot, and we went in together. We didn't have to wait long in the waiting room, and can we say that is just so lovely? I've been at other doctor's offices just waiting for like 20 to 30 minutes, and it's a little ridiculous. So, oh my gosh, props to my fertility clinic for not making us wait very long. It's really nice. Once the doctor came in for the ultrasound, my eyes were locked again on the screen while my husband recorded it again. I just wanted to see that heartbeat. And this time, the baby looked huge and looked so much more developed. I mean, after 4 weeks, as one might expect the baby to look a little different. But I was just amazed. I really enjoyed just like watching it float around and roll around. I swear I saw something in between those legs. I would put money on it, but the doctor insisted she didn't get that view. Now, I'm convinced it's a boy. I have been having cramps and more dry blood before this appointment over the last few weeks, which of course kind of concerned me. She told me my uterus is expanding and growing, which is perfectly normal. She was not happy to hear that I wanted to go to a birth center, which, hey, I think we can expect from the medical community, right? She said that IVF pregnancies are at a higher risk than a spontaneous pregnancy. We were going to speak with my OB that took out one of my fallopian tubes and ask her questions. Oh my gosh, that kind of situation is so uncomfortable to me. I knew I wanted to ask the questions to see if she was the right doctor for me. And I haven't shared much about this because I truly believe there's room for all of our opinions and experiences. But I want a pregnancy that is kind of as natural as possible and with little intervention. I really only wanted to be induced if it's necessary, but if it's necessary, let's go. And my OB kind of started right out of the gate that I was going to be induced. Like, this is just my 6-week appointment. Like before I had a miscarriage, and she just was like, oh, you're going to be induced at 39 weeks. It's like, whoa, let's talk about this before, like, not right now. And so that really, we might be there right now. Like, we might use her for our doctor if we never had that conversation. But that really kind of sparked me to look for something else that I don't think she's the right fit for us. We also had 2 interviews with doulas this week, and they both raved about the hospital that the birthing center uses. That really felt good to me that both of them said they're really good at like non-intervention practices. It's a hospital in Mansfield. And I was like, yes. She said, we can even do like not a water birth, but I am allowed to labor in a pool if we bring all that. And I was like, yes and yes. So they kind of made me feel really confident doing that. And my OB actually called today and authorized a meeting, a consultation to talk to the doctor. And after I made the appointment, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, my mind is already made up. I don't think we need to do that. There's no guarantees everything will go smoothly, but there's also no guarantees that I'll need intervention. And I'm not against an epidural, but I want to see how my body does. I remember Jennifer mentioning that in her episode, and that she wasn't against an epidural, but wanted to see how her body does. And that stuck in my head. I was like, that's exactly what I want. I want to be open-minded with having the options, but I want to at least give my body the chance. Maybe that makes me a really bad patient. And I've heard a few times that it doesn't matter how your baby comes into this world, but I respectfully disagree. Of course, I want a healthy baby. Of course, I want a healthy baby. And that's just a conversation for another day. I truly believe it's important how we're treated about all of the trauma that women have experienced through birth. And yeah, I don't want a C-section. Like, a C-section really frightens me. I know so many of y'all had one, and that's okay. But that's where we are today. And I think I'm going to call on Monday to schedule an appointment with the birthing center to do a hospital birth. Isn't that cool that that is even an option, that you can go to a birthing center, but still birth in a hospital? I love it. I get midwives in a hospital. I think it's great. The hospital is almost an hour away, but that's okay. That's okay. My goal, like I talked to this with the doula, that my goal is to labor at home as long as possible. That sounds really nice. I hope to get into that more later, but let's get into today's show. Before we even start talking about money, I want to suggest being super confident about what is important to you when it comes to expanding your family. Like for me, it was super important to me that I experience pregnancy and birth at least one time. Like, I have been dreaming about it for so long. Like, it's so important to me that I get to experience pregnancy and birth. And in my head, forever, I also assumed I would always have two kids. Maybe this is like I'm borrowing all these thoughts from my mom. And because she had two girls, I kind of think I want two girls. I don't know, but it's totally in my head that I want two, and I assume they're going to be girls. But for the first kid, I kind of always wanted one with our genetics, my and my husband's genetics, until we figured out that that wasn't possible. And then the second child, I really wanted to adopt. And then when I found out about embryo adoption, I was like, yes, I totally love that too. Knowing that really helped us make our decisions along our journey. And two, know your why. Why do you want to have kids? This is going to be the second big question that will help guide your path of your journey. And three, generally know the cost of treatments and options, even if you think you can't afford it. And know what support your insurance is going to provide. Knowledge is power. And I think many of us have no idea how many different treatments are available to us. Now, I know there's someone very close to me that did not want to use any treatments at all, and spontaneous was the only option. Hey, and that's totally okay too. But knowing what treatments are available to you, wow, it's super powerful. There are so many more options than just IVF and a spontaneous pregnancy. And that's really powerful. I think sometimes we just go along through this path that the doctors put us on. I kind of think that's what we did. And I fought it because I was like, and that's how it felt. Do your research on all the options. Know the prices of stuff. Like for us in our area, egg retrievals are, I'm sure some of them do packages, but like for us, they were like 20 grand a piece. Donor eggs are going to be about 20 grand a piece. I don't know about IUIs. And I'm not sure about embryos. Know the prices and don't take my word for it, because I know they are different everywhere for sure. Before we did our second transfer, it was really important to us that we do more testing, even if it meant delayed, because I wanted to make sure that, we wanted to make sure that we were so ready that we couldn't do anything more before our second transfer to use our last embryo. It was so important. So all of that is really helpful to create your path in your journey. And because having a second child without my genetics was important, and that's what I wanted for a second child, it made going to donor eggs that much easier. Of course, it was really hard for me at first. I really had to mourn the loss of having children with my own genetics. But if it meant opening up the possibility of pregnancy and having a family, I got there quickly. And that leads to my next point. What is your money philosophy? You can also read, what do you think about money? What are your thoughts or beliefs on money? Many of our thoughts on money start with our parents and what they have told us about money. I grew up with pretty conservative parents when it comes to money. I was always taught to have a savings account and to grow it. We didn't go on a ton of fancy vacations. I borrowed a lot of those thoughts, and I kind of became obsessed with saving. And one could argue that it really wasn't healthy. I often hold on to money tight, and spending money for me is painful sometimes, like physically painful. Sometimes some of our conversations about money, like fertility treatments, the big ones, my stomach hurt, gave me anxiety. When it came time to figure out how we were going to come up with the money for the egg retrieval and donor eggs, I didn't think we had enough money. I didn't think we had the money either. I hated borrowing money. And that's when I realized I didn't have a good relationship with money. My thoughts were coming from scarcity of not having enough. Honestly, thank goodness my husband spearheaded this. One of the big ticket items, we took out a credit card with a 2-year with 0% interest. It's not like you have to have the cash laying around sometimes. Hey, but don't tell my husband. I learned a lot from that experience. My thoughts were coming from scarcity, that we didn't have it and I couldn't afford it. Before we decided on donor eggs, we did discuss where our stopping point was and how much was too much to spend. For me, it was also an emotional stopping point, but we both agreed where that was. Are the stopping point a baby? Is it 50 grand? Is it 30 grand? What is it for you? Because the range, it varies greatly. And before this podcast, I was determined to have a homesteading podcast. I had everything ready with the podcast, and we already started trying to conceive. I wanted to switch and do this very podcast. I had it all planned out in my head, but I thought I couldn't start until I was pregnant. This was a common theme for myself, switching from one thing to the next before I even finished something. So with love, my husband suggested I get at least the homesteading podcast going before I start this one. He wanted me to succeed at something, but my mind was already made up. I had a friend at my office who was starting a margarita shop, and he asked me to work there. I immediately said yes to the second job. I had a great time. I learned so much about starting a new business, and customers asked me if I was the owner. I was confident I had what it took. Now, I worked there for about 6 months or so, and I used that money to start this podcast. Was it long, hard hours? Of course it was, but it was absolutely empowering. And remember what money is. Remember that money is just a tool. Money is neutral, and money can be a result. Mostly for this context, money is not a result, but only a circumstance, which is neutral. It's not the amount of money in your bank account that makes you feel a certain way. It only has power until we have a thought about it. It's only paper or a number on a screen. It has value because we have decided it has a value. I also learned that in my case, my thoughts on money were affecting my results of being pregnant. I'm confident that if it wasn't for my husband for deciding to spend the money and be okay with it, I'm not sure I would have spent the money and I wouldn't be pregnant sitting here telling you my story. Would we have gotten pregnant spontaneously? Maybe. So let's look at an example. What the heck am I saying? If you were magically given $1 million in your bank account, you might say, oh, I feel so secure now. But the money is just sitting there. It's not doing anything. It's your thought about what the amount means that makes you feel secure. Separating those two concepts out is very important in how you get your power back. If I want from abundance, I believe spending money will help us get pregnant. It feels good. It feels exciting. If I want from scarcity, I think spending money will be a waste of time. It doesn't feel good. That's how you know where you are wanting from. I did an exercise and I suggest you do it too. It helped me want from a place of abundance. I created a list of things I wanted, 25 things that I wanted. And we're taught to want from a place of scarcity. Oh, meaning we only want things that we don't have. But instead, I added things on my list that I wanted and already had. Looking at my list, I wanted to be married. I have a husband. I wanted a baby. Or actually, my want is I want a family. I didn't have that yet. I wasn't pregnant. I wanted a homestead with chickens. I do. I have that. That makes me smile. So I wrote down a list of about 20 things and I alternated from things I wanted and had, and then things I wanted but didn't have. I'm sure you might be trying to use the word grateful in this situation, but wanting and being grateful are two different emotions. They're very different. When you want from abundance, you are being fueled from a positive emotion. Scarcity is fueled from a negative emotion. I asked myself, what does abundance feel like? What does it feel like to spend money trying to conceive? If it feels like there isn't enough, it doesn't mean you stop wanting it. It just means you give up that thought about it. When I think about our option of having a second child, it feels like there are so many options available. It feels really good, in fact, and I definitely don't feel old. In a perfect world, we would have more embryos, but I'm so drawn, as you know, to embryo adoption, and the possibility of conceiving spontaneously also feels fun. If you don't have money for fertility treatment, you might think you feel scarcity because of the lack of money, or you feel stress because of the lack of money to pay for IVF or whatever treatment. It's not the lack of money to pay for the treatment. It's what you think about it and make it mean that will cause you to feel a certain way. I want to suggest that the only real problem is how you think about money. If you want fertility treatments, know that you can't afford it. It's all in your mind. If you might think you don't have enough, but the problem is only how you think about it, write down all of the thoughts about money. Your thoughts create your emotions that ultimately create your actions that are creating your result. I don't want to say that spending money is the only way to have a baby either, by the way, but consider this. if you have one person that says they have to save 10% of their paycheck for embryo adoption or whatever, and someone else that says, I can't save money for embryo adoption, these two people are going to have two very different results. These thoughts are creating the actions that in turn are creating the result. Most of us don't pay attention to how we think about money. We don't have any idea how we are creating our results. Look at the amount of money you have in your savings. You might say you have that amount because of external circumstances. What if you have that amount because of the thoughts you have about money that are creating your result of your savings account? Whatever the amount, it's not bad or it's good, because remember, it's neutral. The thought that is driving your money habits, does that feel good? Is that the path you want to continue? Do you want to be driven by that emotion? For some of us, it might be indifference, it might be determination, or it might be commitment. Behind every emotion is a thought that drives it. Knowing that thought and the emotion is very empowering if you want to change it. Now, if these questions are hard for you to answer, that's okay. I know for me, I need to work on answering these questions for days or weeks to really understand what's going on in my head. Sometimes it's hard to see the belief systems we have been trained to think because the thoughts feel like truth or facts. Okay, now I see a few of you rolling your eyes at me. I physically feel this. Because some of you are saying some people just can't afford fertility treatments. I want to suggest it may not be true. The way you think about money could change everything. Make sure you are aware of what you think. Is this how you want to continue to think about money? What feelings are your thoughts creating? It's not who you are. It's what you think. The thought, I can't afford it. How does it feel to think that? It might feel perhaps defeating or helpless. But that thought is optional. What if you thought, I have enough money to pay for IVF, but I choose to pay for my mortgage instead? Isn't that so much more empowering? You have options and the power to decide what to think. One is powerful and the other one is victimy. It's a beautiful thing to own your thoughts. When you believe in the outcome and believe in yourself, you'll keep taking action until you get the results you want, no matter how long it takes. The steps to do this are to write down what you think about money right now. I know, yes, writing things down takes time, but it's much easier to see when you write things down. It's like trying to do a math problem in your head. It's just easier to do the math problem when you write it down. So, what are your thoughts on money? Number 2, decide if you want to keep thinking those thoughts. Are they serving you? Now, I ask myself this question all the time. Is that thought serving me? Oftentimes, it is not serving me. And that's okay, because it's really powerful to know if it's not. And the last step is to change the thought. If you want to think, I am capable of saving money for an IUI, and you are coming from, I can't afford an IUI, all the evidence that you can't afford it will come up. But it's totally normal when you try to change your thoughts that this happens. You will be faced with all kinds of drama in your head along the way. You will be tempted to give in to scarcity. You will be tempted to give in to self-doubt. But remember, your brain has been trained to believe something else. It's going to be hard and it's going to take time. Can you change your thoughts about money without changing the amount of money you have? How would you think if you could pay for a fertility treatment next year instead of right now? What thoughts, feelings, and actions would be different? Can you commit to believing that thought? What would you have to think to believe it? What thoughts and feelings would you think if you could never afford it? And which thought do you like better? Which will get you where you want to be? I believe if all you need is money is the problem to solve your dream of motherhood, I believe it can be solved by just the way you think about money and the ability to create thoughts, which will create actions to get you the result. I hope you found this episode empowering and hopeful for whatever circumstance you are in. It just might not be the numbers in your bank account that are preventing you from investing money in your fertility. And it's simple to change your thoughts, but it's not easy. But what if your thoughts were all that were in the way? Thank you so much for listening. Next week's show is a pregnancy story over 40. And if you have any requests for a show, please share them with me on Instagram, email, or through our Contact Us page on the website. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next Monday.